Hello, today's January 24th, and today is Robot and Nonsense Day.
And it was brought to you by Linode. We've been using Linode for years. So many Linode ads.
You know, I meant to go through the stories and find like a good lead-in for the Linode. Did we have any like personal cloud? I guess the Amazon stuff would have been a decent lead-in.
Well, we were talking about the vertical integration.
Oh, you know what
stuff
would have been a
earlier.
great story would be the Jedi story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing that I like about Linode is that you can get even just very like super tiny plans that just cost pennies per day if you just want to mess around. So if you want to do your own hosting and like push button VPN access or create your own, private website, it doesn't have to be a public website. You can have a place where you upload, all your music or all your ebooks or anything like that. And they're yours, they're password protected. You're not giving them away. You're not doing any piracy or anything like that. But
Never.
It's a convenient location for all of that stuff. So you can get to it from your phone, your laptop, or you're traveling, other people's computers. It's a pretty interesting setup. I mean, we use it for hosting the Level 1 website, but there's a lot you can do. Plus, also, if you just want to learn more about Linux and hosting and websites and crap like that, if you want to learn security and incident response, you can just throw up a WordPress blog, don't patch it, and then just let some time elapse.
Literally like 2 weeks. We don't even accept WordPress sites anymore because of that.
Here's your challenge. If you're going to do that, make up. So here, okay, this is going to be the
Linode weekly challenge.
the trifecta, right? You want current job skills, right? Start out with machine learning. Create a fake data set with AI. Completely fake. Put a lot of variables in there, a lot of rows in that table. Upload that fake data set into your unpatched WordPress on Linode. Then wait, and when you are inevitably compromised, check out all the dark web reports and see where your data went.
Wow, 96% of the email addresses ended up on Have I Been Pwned. Why would they delete 4% of the database records?
That'd be a great project to show your future employers.
So thanks for Linode for sponsoring this. There's a coupon below where you can get $20 off even, and we get a little referral commission from that. So thank you, Linode. And on with the nonsense, where we're going to talk about like combat vehicles that are driven by AI, which could be on Linode. You don't know.
Maybe don't put that on this.
Well, they do talk about, now this will be a secure cloud, but these vehicles will be driven and will be able to report back and forth through a cloud, which is insane.
The U.S. Army to award contracts to QinetiQ-NA.
I think that's QinetiQ.
Kinetic.
QinetiQ.
Kinetic is probably right.
QinetiQ, and Textron for robotic combat vehicles. It's like a mini tank with an Iron Man face on the top.
And guess what's not inside of it? People.
There should put some googly eyes on there. Make it a little more friendly looking.
Now, they did point out that these tanks are unique in the way that they're built, because he was like, you know what? We don't have to worry about the little mushy things on the inside. We can change the armor configuration and like the way the gun works and everything, and it's way more efficient because we don't have to worry about the mushy things on the inside.
I saw a demo at Sandia once where when they don't have to worry about the mushy things on the inside, they literally weaponized an ATV. It was just 300 pounds of copper shape charge nonsense on a remote controlled ATV, and it's like, wow, that weapon is incredible.
Appalachia wants to know your location.
So here they show some rocket artillery as well and some different size tanks. They're going to have so many light vehicles and so many heavy vehicles, and they're all going to be these remote drones.
When are they adding that to PUBG?
Oh, here we go. These are the light ones, and then there's a medium. I don't know if they're making the heavy yet, but he looks like a serious contender.
They had the picture there looked pretty serious.
I think that's one of the medium ones.
Wow.
Yeah, they get bigger.
Wow.
Is it going to look like that thing in the original Terminator movies? Because that's the noise that I hear in my head right now, that little sort of like a laser tech sound thing.
They didn't mention I think they're still diesel. Just remote. I don't think you can make those guys electric. Well, you could, but wouldn't be very efficient. Now, when we think about killer robots, we definitely think about that picture, right? Like
Yeah.
this stylized, futuristic-looking tank coming and just crushing our skulls under its uncaring treads. But perhaps that's not what the killer robots of the future will look like.
Scientists use stem cells from frogs to build the first living robots. So researchers foresee myriad benefits for humanity, but also acknowledge ethical issues. They used AI to decide what sort of biological components could be used to build something useful, and then actually built it. So this was simulated, and then once they had a reasonable simulation, they built it. So it's 4 little things can be used for grabbing onto things and also propelling. It also has a little pocket for the things can be stored in.
It looks like a praise the tooth. Like that's what it looks like.
It's programmable.
So they figured out, like, for example here, these different colors are different kinds of cells. And they were like, if we arrange them in this way, I bet it could use its little nubs to move around and do stuff. And so they went to the frogs and scraped off the right kinds of cells and arranged them. And sure enough.
Didn't this happen in Jurassic Park? Wasn't this like a plot point?
Well, it's
they used
interesting.
frog DNA.
They talk about that. So one of the guys who was just like overly excited and, like Super's like, oh, let me tell you about what we're going to do. And he was like, yeah, imagine if we put like some sort of nervous system into this thing and then it could react to the world around it. And the other guy was like, there would be an ethical discussion to be had before we can make it feel pain.
What's your purpose? You just walk around on your little tooth nubs.
But yeah, that's a thing. That's really amazing what they did there. The scale is very small, but they said, hey, we're ready to scale it up. Give us monies.
Yay, biological robots come to kill us all.
They don't have to make the machine
multiplying.
noises won't set you off that they're coming. They'll just be like squishing. And this one, I think AI is involved here, although reading it, I didn't see where that was explicitly the case. But it's still really cool.
Yeah.
Although, also a little bit terrifying. Because here's the thing. Our organs, the desire to harvest them is based on how viable they are, right? So right now, if you're going to harvest somebody's organs, you want young, healthy people, right? If you got some people that got like the fatty livers or, cirrhosis because they've been drinking, they're older, their organs have got some miles on them, you're like, leave them alone. We don't want to harvest their organs. But
a machine keeps human livers alive for 1 week outside of the body. Researchers have developed a machine that repairs injured human livers and keeps them alive outside the body for up to a week. The breakthrough may increase the number of available organs for transplant, saving many lives of patients with severe liver diseases or cancer. So the liver is homogeneous enough that this works for the liver. So this is actually pretty cool. There's also a lot of liver diseases that we don't really fully understand. So being able to sort of work on the liver outside of the body for like a week, that could actually be good.
Oh, and it repairs itself. So they talked about, so in the case of like a car accident or something, there's going to be trauma there. And you pop the liver out and it might not be very viable. So they got a liver that was not very viable and they took it out. It was like 20%, I think they said. They popped it in the machine and a week later, that was a 100% liver ready for the...
Ready to go back in.
Well, I was thinking someone else.
Yeah, that person was dead. Yeah. So they don't take it out.
That's why you signed back in your license, so that way you can give away your organs when you're dead.
I was reading about one country where if you don't donate your organs, you go to the bottom of the list.
Wow.
Which, I guess that's fair.
Yeah. I don't understand why you wouldn't. I guess some people are weird about that, but...
The Chinese Communist Party? Be a good reason not to.
And the darkness says hello.
To not donate your organs?
No, they don't care if you...
Yeah, I would say they don't care about your consent
but,
there.
If they'll do it, our leaders... Do you think that Ruth Bader Ginsburg wouldn't take my liver in a minute if she could live another year?
She needs to live another year
Spread
because
evil.
it's only going to get done.
No. She needs to be eating a lot of like really crunchy snacks. A lot of undercooked bacon. And don't chew it very much. Now, Krista, you're obsessed with Chris Bailey.
Yeah, that's a local weatherman in this area.
And you have a love-hate relationship with him where you constantly badmouth him for his poor predictions, and yet you follow his every word.
Yeah, he has a Twitter account, and he makes regular blog posts about the weather. And for whatever reason, I like to punish myself and read his blog posts and get really excited for snow, and it never happens.
Well, perhaps you and Chris are in danger because there's a new name in the weather predicting game, and it's a big one.
How Google researchers use neural networks to make weather forecasts. It's only good for 6 hours, though.
Is the big name neural network?
It's Google.
Google.
Just Google. Oh, it's not a long name.
So how are they doing it? Well, you know that Google has that badass image recognition software, and it takes an image and it breaks it up into like grids, and it looks and it names things. Well, what happens when you feed that a weather map? Really cool things.
It does really well.
I
for
thought there
6
were better
hours.
pictures.
No, it's just those 3.
I might have done it like a non-clickbait version of this.
There's a 90% chance it's already raining.
So it looks at that, and then it uses that same image recognition to try and predict what the weather's going to do based on the previous slides, which seems like the weather would be more capricious than that, but apparently super accurate.
It sees things the human eye doesn't.
I mean, 6 hours isn't that impressive. I feel like Chris Bailey could even get 6 hours.
Does he though?
Really?
Yeah. I whine about him a lot.
Weather.com.
He's generally pretty good.
Weather.com will change its hourly forecast several times throughout the day. Like it'll go from raining all day to just raining a little bit.
That makes it frustrating when I try to plan hiking trips because I never know if it's actually going to rain.
Well, Google could hook you up the next 6 hours. You can hike.
Well,
So Amazon has this thing that they couldn't explain. Now, this article, I found. Did you find this kind of dense and
Yeah.
hard to? So as I understand it, and correct me if you took something else away from this, it's you search for something on Amazon, and because their search is weird, you get a product that is in no way related to what you searched for. But people tend to buy those products.
Well, there's 3 classes of people. The middle class doesn't do that, but the short searchers and the long searchers will absolutely do that.
So, and you would think the long searchers would be the least likely, right?
Yeah,
Because
'cause
it's a very specific search.
Yeah.
So anyway, Amazon was like, what is wrong with these people? And how do we reproduce this to make them do it more often?
Amazon taps AI to discover why customers buy seemingly irrelevant products. So when you go to buy duct tape, you also buy shackles sometimes. It's like, why does this happen?
I think we could figure that one out.
There's probably also
Ski
equally
masks.
obvious, yeah. I mean,
Claw hammers.
a lot of plastic bags. A lot of plastic
zip ties.
bags.
Clorox. So they unleashed the AI, and I didn't get a sense of what they figured out. Did they even report
No,
that?
no,
'Cause
I
this
don't-
article was terrible.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything really that has been figured out from this kind of thing. I think that there's one component of this that they haven't discovered yet is sort of decision fatigue. Like there is a class of people out there that if you were to personify the algorithm in Alexa and it were to just pop up and be like, hey, you've been ordering a lot from Amazon over the years. I could just run your life for you. Do you want me to do that? And people will be like, yeah, that sounds good. And so Alexa would be like, here is what you're having for dinner tonight. It was just delivered to your house. Here's how you cook it. Okay, sounds good, Alexa. I'm down with that. And they would just let Amazon run their entire life because they're just tired of making decisions.
My parents, I have to do all of their online ordering for them, and I do it through my account. And so, it's like my normal ordering stuff, and then just the weird stuff that my dad wants, and then the stuff my mom wants, which is like Christian stuff and art supplies. And Amazon is like, I don't even know who you are. What do you want out of this world? It's like you're 3 different people. Well, supercomputers are cool. Literally, they have to be very cold. And you don't have the means in your home to keep that at that state, so you can't enjoy a supercomputer at home. Or can you, says Toshiba.
Toshiba touts an algorithm that's faster than a supercomputer. And that's all that I saw because everywhere I saw this article was paywalled.
It had to do with, I don't even remember the word now, but like they have one extra variable, and then they can substitute just one variable in the thing and run that faster than doing it all over again.
Oh, okay. So it's like the story that we did on simulating the universe where the AI figured out some way to do that was not computationally expensive.
Exactly. So this thing, it's probably not as good as a supercomputer. It's taking shortcuts, but it seems to be getting kind of the same answers.
Neat.
Kind of.
Bifurcation. Bifurcation is the word. I can't tell you exactly what that means, but it's kind of what I described, I think.
I know what that means, but I don't understand how that applies in that context. So that's weird.
Meanwhile, if you think that's crap and Toshiba's just making stuff up, but you still need AI at home, perhaps there's another answer.
Coral is Google's quiet initiative to enable AI without the cloud. The on-device AI promises to make computers faster and more secure. So this is what Google is doing now instead of Google Fiber. So for all the people that are on the butt end of the internet, well, maybe they can have some kind of an AI experience with intermittent internet connectivity.
There it
This
is.
is something that they're going to put in the Stadia.
So you have two versions of this. You have the dev kit, which is I think what this is, so that you can build solutions that use this. And then you have the consumer kit, which I guess is what this is, which actually just provides the horsepower for running those things.
It's got some tensor cores, so you can do little TensorFlow models on this, which is neat. But, yeah.
Oh,
Look
they're
at them
so
little
small.
tiny chips. Adorable. You know, I've never looked at a modern penny before.
I was just thinking, I was like, where's Abraham Lincoln's head?
I just throw them on the ground.
It's like the bits people give us, Twitch. You just,
How dare you?
listen, I've got 10K bubbles now.
Oh, wow.
The bubble
An
economy.
aristocrat.
I can't remember what they're actually called. I think they're channel points. I call them bubbles because that's what they look like.
Well, in South Korea, they are on the cutting edge of robotics and AI. They really accept it into their society a lot more than we do, which is saying something because we're not exactly saying no to it. But they have a terrifying new way of using AI. And, oh, man, I cannot imagine. Like, the job, I feel like I really nailed the job interviews I did because in a couple of cases, I didn't care. And I think that really worked in my favor.
Just like kind of like, yeah, take your job. I don't need it.
Yeah. But I think 1 in 4 young people in South Korea is jobless. So they have insane competition in their markets. And that's what makes this even more terrifying.
Smile with your eyes. How to beat South Korea's AI hiring bots and land a job. So in South Korea, cram school obsessed in South Korea, and students work out classes, everything in K-pop additions to real estate. So basically it's using AI to screen candidates because literally 1 in 4 young people is going to get a job. The other 3 don't. So 75% of young people are unemployed and they want jobs. So the AI is just arbitrary and capricious.
So what this person is doing is, this is the AI interview. Now this happens before you ever talk to a person. If you've ever gone into, I don't know, I guess they still do this, but like if you go into a retail store and you're like, hey, I need a job, they'll just point you to a computer.
Yeah.
But that's to put in your application. In Korea, you're going through the AI interview during that time. And if you can't pass the AI interview, you never get through to a human being.
If you're awkward,
Well, like the guy said, smile with your eyes. So the AI can actually detect your emotions, and fear is one of them that it detects. Oh, that's horrific.
I didn't realize they had such a high unemployment rate for young people.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy over there.
I feel like that would cause some serious unrest.
But is it 1 in 4 employed or 1 in 4 unemployed?
I think it's 1 in 4 employed.
Wow, I thought it was the opposite.
Yeah, that's really
crazy.
high. Is anyone concerned about that? That's the first time I've ever heard of that statistic.
Yeah. So a lot of young people in Korea are miserable.
Yeah. Maybe that's wrong, but I think it is a really high
Well, 1 in 4 is high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, and I think that's just people who are capable of working. That's not total unemployment.
And odds are they're probably more educated than people here. That would suggest that the U.S. is headed for a major economic recession.
That's the thing about the cram schools, right? Like, these aren't people who are just lazy. These are people who are actively going to these little lightning schools.
Yeah.
Trying to find a job.
Just give me the tools I need just to get this job, please.
I can think of one member of our audience that was duped by a predatory school that was like that. It was
Oh,
like,
yeah.
hey, we're gonna help you, and
I mean,
the answer was no.
he got a
For
job.
a price.
He got a job, but I don't think it's, he's not paying back that loan at a
No.
realistic rate.
So sorry.
Well, you know what he could do if he wanted to make a real quick amount of money is he could bang a billionaire in space.
SpaceX moon passenger Yusaku Maezawa has 27,000 applicants for a girlfriend to take along to the moon. So, a serious matchmaking documentary wants to help SpaceX's first private passenger find love
How old is he?
and a partner for his 2023 voyage to the moon.
I think he's is like 44. Yeah, 44
I'll
years
say
old.
like the picture there is like I don't know if he's just older or like
Somebody tweeted at Simone Yetch, and she was like, "Oh yeah, this will be exciting," and then she's like, "Wait, no."
So he doesn't come out and say that he's going to be banging you when you're on the far side of the moon, but he does say that the person needs to be passionate.
I like to think that's maybe a translation error, but it's probably not.
Here's his tweet.
Come to the moon with me. Aw.
And so you're not just going on the trip. You're going to stay with him after that and be his moon mistress. But he does have $1 billion. And
Seems like prenups would be involved.
Does have a lot.
How many dudes do you think have applied for this?
A lot.
Well, I don't think he's interested. He did say there needs to be a female. About 27,000 women.
Girls, guy in real life.
Well, we're not allowed to say that anymore, right? They decide, not us. Wouldn't that be a surprise when you hit the dark side of the moon?
In space, nobody can hear you scream.
You're groping around because it's dark. Moon penis.
Too bad that can't be the title of the episode.
And then you're stuck in a capsule with him for the rest of the trip. That'd be a great movie.
And then it's just the two guys like on opposite sides of the cabin eating astronaut ice cream.
Truly a Brokeback Mountain for our time.
Brokeback Mountain. Well, that's not the only thing that's been in space. How about some swole mice? Swole mice in space. That's another great movie title.
Mighty mice.
Scientists sent mighty mice to space to improve treatments back on Earth. So these were mice that had a lot of musculature, a lot of muscle mass. They're going to lose that muscle mass in space to some degree. When they come back, the scientists want to see what sort of treatments will help them regain muscle mass. Because, hey, human beings lose muscle mass in space too.
Regular mouse, swole mouse.
It's made them gain, son.
This guy figured out, he took some kind of gene out that makes the thing that limits muscle growth. So they just constantly build muscle.
It's like that cow, the super cow that was like... Rrr.
And so they sent those up and to try to figure out how much muscle degradation you would have if you were like nothing but muscle.
Neat.
Which is cool. You think you could get one of those as a pet? Wonder how much more it eats than a regular mouse.
Probably a lot.
Well, the end of times, as we've talked about here, you know, we've got the big fire, the Rome is falling, and who knows? We got all-time high in the old stock market. Yeah,
all-time high for planetary temperatures.
Nothing bad has ever happened after that. But maybe that's not the thing that's going to get us. Maybe it won't be nuclear war or the fall of civilization. Maybe it'll be some viruses.
Scientists found ancient and never-before-seen viruses in a glacier. This story goes on to talk about how they were able to germinate those viruses and reproduce them, and their method for making sure that they were never-before-seen viruses. They concede that not a lot of documentation for viruses in general exists, but then they also talk about how one of the viruses targets a type of bacteria that's 30,000 years old, and they were able to bring that back to life, which is surprising considering DNA doesn't usually last that long.
What a great thing to do.
Yeah. You seen the movie The Thing? That's what we're going toward.
They also, the impressive thing is they talked about how even in the Arctic, when they pull those cores out, viruses are just everywhere, and they're latching onto it. And they had a hard time telling what were old viruses and what were new viruses. So they had to come up with this whole like washing ritual to clean their cores.
You have to make references to old 80s cartoons and see which ones they know.
See if they can sing the Masters of the Universe theme.
Yeah, I can't.
There was no words to it.
Oh, was it just guitar?
Dun, 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 dun. Cooler Master has a exciting new widget that they're going to sell you when they sell you anything with a microprocessor that needs some thermal paste, but the reasoning might not be what you think it is.
Cooler Master redesigns its thermal interface material packaging so parents don't think their kids are doing drugs. Wow, yeah.
That is a fun joke to make, though.
So here it is. It's more of a wedge shape.
Less of a needle.
I mean, have they never bought a tube of caulk from Lowe's?
That would be a lot of heroin. You got like the trigger instead of the plunger.
But I've made that joke before when you've got all the thermal paste needles around here. I'm like, oh, Wendell, you don't have to do this, bud.
Yeah, well, apparently
it's such an easy joke, yeah.
That was not uncommon for parents to be outraged. And it was like, who is this Cooler Master selling my child drugs?
Cooler Master, the worst drug dealer.
So, yeah, some people do complain that you can't do the pea size drop with that, and you'll actually be worse off. But
Yeah, it would be kind of like
for
a
the
slang.
kids, I guess.
Parents are so dumb.
The Supreme Court has refused to talk about a lot of stuff, but surprise, surprise, they took a case that had to do with age discrimination. Huh. The average age is what, 81?
That's a lot.
I mean, it's crazy. So it might be younger than that. One guy is actually 81 or 83 or something like that, though.
Isn't Ruth Bader Ginsburg like 96?
She's, way
It's like
up there.
90 or 91 or something.
Anyway, they decided to rule on this one.
Chief Justice Roberts, is OK Boomer evidence of age discrimination? So there's a 4-minute listen. You can say, it's like, is this, because you can't discriminate if somebody's over the age of 40 for age-related reasons.
So there was some lawsuit. This woman said that she was being passed up for promotions because she was too old. And I think there was a memo that said she was like stuck in her ways or something like that. And so she said it's age discrimination, and there's a hot argument about what constitutes age discrimination. And the correct answer is, at a certain point, it's okay to discriminate against people who are too old, and everybody on the Supreme Court qualifies for that. I guess this recent appointee, he wasn't that old, was he?
I don't think so.
I would give him to retirement age, right? Whatever the Medicare age is, that should be the last time you're in government.
That's soon going to be like 18.
Under Sanders?
Mm-hmm. Medicare for all. It might work. It might end badly. I don't know.
I don't think that.
We're already hurtling toward economic depression.
I think they'd kill him before they let that. The TSA gets a bad rap, and probably deservedly so. But you have to be particularly tone deaf when it comes to modern culture to do something like this.
The TSA says sorry after a Native American traveler says the agent snapped her braids. So she had long braids, and they had to be patted down for security reasons or whatever. And so the TSA agent apparently grabbed both of them and said, "Giddy up!" And it was like, "Oh, that's not cool."
Even if the person wasn't native, that's just so like.
Well, see, that's the thing that pisses me off about this story is because the woman tweeted and she was like, "My braids are part of my spirit and my heritage. Native people shouldn't be treated like this." Listen, sweetheart, nobody should be treated like that. Doesn't have anything to do with who you are. That's just ridiculous.
I said I can't imagine anyone doing that. I actually had some okay experiences with TSA last time I flew, but they clearly were over it as much as everyone else in the airport was over it. So
yeah. Well, but don't take that job. Don't bitch to me about, "Oh, I got PTSD because I'm a cop and I have to see horrible things."
what do you think was going to happen? I
Yeah.
guess, yeah.
I guess that goes for being a software developer too.
Oh, yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'll complain, but I know that I could. I could go manage a Wendy's.
I often dream of that, of going back to the store, the liquor store, and working.
It's just so much simpler.
It's quiet. I can watch the TV while I clean and dust shelves. Like,
Well, if you're selling liquor, but if you were the manager, which is at our age probably the only job they'd give us, I think that would be pretty difficult because you're dealing with those young people,
and nobody wants to work.
trying to wrangle them. Well, memes are powerful. We learned that during the last election, didn't we? But they can also be used for evil. I guess they're used for evil a lot. And they can also be used for evil in very boomerish ways, I guess. I don't think a young person did this.
threatening memes.
State representative finds threatening memes left in his Hudson mailbox. What was the threatening meme? On this day in 1775, the British demanded we surrender our weapons. We shot them. Okay.
That's in reference to the big rally that's going to happen on Monday. Oh, wait. It's already happened. This is Friday. The rally that happened on Monday, we might be in a civil war by the time you watch this.
Yeah.
Because Virginia has decided to
Secede from the Union.
ban certain the gun laws
The
they
South
passed.
will rise again. Oh no.
I'm a big Second Amendment guy, and I looked at the laws that they passed, and they weren't that crazy. But they tried to put the assault weapon ban in there, and that is crazy. So I don't think they'll stop there. That's probably true that this will just keep going. So yeah, people are going to show up with a bunch of guns. And they've declared a state of emergency.
Do you think that the person who got upset by getting these memes in his mailbox, was that an uncomfortable reminder that the people can revolt, or was that like...
No, he every statement was just like, this galvanizes my desire to get the guns out of these crazy people's hands. So that's his whole political platform. He has no identity without that. So he has no choice but to double down.
To double down.
Yeah. Well, when you're at the airport, there can be some long waits. And what are you going to do? You're waiting. You got nothing but time on your hands. Maybe play a little PlayStation, right? But PlayStation doesn't have a monitor on it. So you get creative.
Man hijacks Portland airport monitor to play video games until the Portland airport officials declare game over. Basically, I don't see the problem with this, really.
Well, the monitor that he chose displayed a map of the airport to help people get around.
But no one was there.
Except, like, if you're someone getting off a plane, it's like, oh, I have to make my connecting flight. I have, like, less than an hour to do it. And it's like, I don't know the layout of this airport. You're kind of screwed, aren't you?
I think it was just, like, in one of the terminals there wasn't even anybody there, really.
So they asked him very politely if he would not do that. And he asked if he could finish his game, and they said no.
Wow.
But, I mean, HDMI ports...
Yeah.
You're not going to stop somebody. What about if you had a Chromecast?
It's an online game.
And then you popped it in, but then you went like across the room.
And they're just like, what's going on?
So it wasn't obvious.
It's an online game. I can't pause it, Mom.
You could have, now if you really wanted to go hard on that, you could remember the boss key on the old DOS games?
Yeah.
You could put a boss key on your application.
So when they wandered around, it's like, dude.
Right
like,
back to the map.
What? Oh.
This is a great story about a courageous young cat. It's got nothing to do with technology.
You think your cats could do this?
No, I don't.
No.
My cats are terrified of everything. They're terrified of everything except me. They'll fight me and, like attack my feet and stuff. But anybody else, right under the couch.
But listen, everyone else is scary.
Caught on video. Highland Park house cat fights off 3 coyotes.
So check him out there. He's just backing them down. What a stud. So
those coyotes are almost more like roos. Where they're like just kind of happy and curious.
What are you? So the good news is the owners foiled the attempts of the coyotes. When they came outside, the coyotes ran away. And they have now invited the cat to live in the home because he is unsafe outside.
They're going to build him a catio. So he can go outside but still be inside.
It's only right that a creature with that kind of virility have the ability to go outside. We talk a lot about modern libraries and the weird ways that technology is affecting them. Libraries have kind of become movie rental places.
They have.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talk about those Wi-Fi hotspots that people don't really take advantage of. You can get free internet at some libraries.
At most libraries now.
Yeah.
It's better than providing computers that get all porned up.
Yeah.
I imagine they probably like cycle those drives every night, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think the average amount of time is from like midnight to full porn penetration after the opening of the...
Probably like 2 or 3 hours. I mean,
you think there's some guys just like...
It depends on where the library is, too. I think the larger the city, the quicker that happens.
They're waiting outside for the library to open. It's like, I need my fix. So, but anyway, probably the most terrifying thing that a library can do is this.
Missouri could jail librarians for lending quote-unquote age-inappropriate books. The bill would allow parents to decide whether their children should have access to controversial books with heavy penalties if libraries disobey. Now,
wouldn't the parent just limit the child's access to
what?
the library?
Krista, you
Well,
can't say that.
correct me if I'm wrong here, but like, if the book contains advanced words and concepts, isn't by definition it already limited? Like, in order for those concepts to make sense to a child, they would have to be able to read and comprehend the words.
Or they could check out, what is it, is it Kama Sutra? The sex book?
Again, if they can read and understand the words.
Well, there's pictures in that one.
Yeah, that's the point maybe that they're trying to make here. Yeah.
So they listed Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. I don't know what that book's about, but I think there's like rape in it. Like a young girl gets raped and talks about her. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But
don't know.
That's okay, but not the Diary of Anne Frank, or vice versa.
well, there's no sexual assault in the Diary of Anne Frank. Slaughterhouse-Five by Vonnegut. Obviously there's some adult themes in that one, but maybe something that child's gonna have to deal with when they grow up in World War III. And Anderson's Speak. Oh, that one's about the rape of the teenager. Okay, I got those mixed up.
I don't know. I just feel like this is something that, like, if you're going to the library, like, wouldn't the parent be with you anyway? Like, kids can't get a library card on their own, I didn't think, without an adult.
I would think that if a kid can check out a book like this from the library, they're old enough to make that decision for themselves. But by definition.
They might just pick it up based on the cover, though. Like,
my parents were militant about like movies and TV and stuff because it was like, Christian cult status crap. But when it came to books, they didn't care. They just loved it if I was reading. So that motivated me to be an avid reader at like 6. I think that's the best thing you can do for your kid.
Yeah.
Is to teach them that something that's actually good for them is bad because it will move them toward it. And that my reading comprehension has been one of my most valuable skills in life. So I think you do the opposite of this.
Yeah.
And I did that. I sought out, the salacious stuff, and I was like, oh my God, I'm getting away with something. Meanwhile, I was just building my reading skills.
Pro tip.
strange takes.
Government, we are, maybe it's just lip service, but more and more we're moving toward open government or asking to move toward open government, right? We've got the freedom of information, and we've got all these things where like the budgets are supposed to be opened up and not just black boxes. But it really makes you question it when you read a headline like this.
State's new open government expert hired in secret. So, yeah.
This looks like a very benign picture. Like, I don't...
It was probably from social media or something.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing about her. This was, what's his name in New York? Cuomo. So there was the job for open government person, but they didn't list it. They didn't tell anybody they were hiring it. They hired her in secret. They told the committee that was hiring her they had to keep it a secret. And she worked for the Cuomo administration controlling what was released on social media. She was like the filter to make sure nothing weird got out. But now she's the openness administrator.
Neat.
Perhaps a conflict. I can't help but put stories in that make fun of the United Kingdom and their silly laws.
It's
now,
a new technological development.
I know that
It's loosely related to the tech news.
this is serious in some people's lives and it's a bad thing, but prohibition doesn't work. You should see that. You should understand that by now. But no, instead...
A British company will sell knives with square tips after a sharp rise in knife crime. What?
Aren't the criminals just going to learn slashing techniques?
I would think so.
Also,
which is really more effective anyway.
don't think you can file that down?
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Maybe you should invest in metal files if you live in the UK. It's going to be a big market.
World War III. something World War III.
Now, you might have picked if you have young kids, you might have picked them up some dolls and some, AI-controlled, app-controlled toys for Christmas, and they just get creepier and creepier as time goes by. Remember all those we talked about that were listening in?
Oh, yeah.
And somebody hijacked them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talked to
There's
the
all those
kids.
cloud recordings in that unprotected S3 bucket.
But that's not nearly as bad as full-on ghosts in your dolls.
They can't let it go. Haunted Elsa doll returns to Houston family after being thrown out multiple times. If the doll comes back, I might have to open my mind to some of the more supernatural solutions. So they kept throwing this away, and it kept making its way back somehow.
Well, the timeline is better than that. So Elsa there began to speak in a lower tone.
Oh.
Then she started speaking only Spanish. And they were kind of weirded out by that. So they threw her away. And then they went on vacation, and they came back, and guess what? Elsa was back in the girl's bedroom. And they were like, oh, ha, ha, don't get stuff out of the garbage. So they double bagged her, put her at the bottom of the garbage bag, right into the dumpster, and didn't tell the kid about it. Then they left for the home for a while again and came back. Guess who was in the yard?
Sounds like the dog. Like the dog that... do they have a dog?
I say that does sound kind of like animal behavior, but...
So currently, Elsa is... here's where she was when they got back from vacation.
I like that she's waving to the family as they return.
I'm
like,
back, bitch.
So they mailed it. They live in Texas or somewhere. They mailed it to another family member in Minnesota.
And it is now duct taped to this Jeep. I'm not sure why. And
It's part of a Minnesota ritual.
they're waiting to see if she will return once again.
Internet, you know what you have to do.
Send the family more
They also
Elsa dolls.
thought that maybe somebody was just pulling a prank and putting other dolls in, but aside from the Spanish, the daughter had also drawn on it in marker, and so they were able to confirm same doll every time.
They should send the sister next. And the sister speaking another language like French.
Now, Krista, we know that little Rue will eat anything that's just laying around the house.
She will. She's getting better about that. She hasn't really chewed anything up in a long time, but it's really just a matter of time.
Yeah, and I think this is a serious concern that you need to think about.
Legalization of marijuana could be leading to more pets getting high. What a strange headline. Anyway, look at this dog about to get 420 wasted.
I don't think that's a marijuana.
You don't know that.
It's a bone.
Dogs can't eat any of that, right?
I don't know if it affects them.
It's
like,
bad for them, I thought.
No, that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not necessarily going to get them high. I mean, it might, but and I've definitely been to high school parties where somebody got the dog high.
Why would you do that?
Well, because they're horrible high school kids, Kristen. You know? Why did
I
they
say
do
even though
anything?
I forced my dog to eat a piece of pickle last night.
And the dog ran around the house a couple of times and exhausted itself and then ate like a whole bowl of food. So I think it was high. But anyway, they're saying that it's going up, and they believe that this kind of thing happened more and more, but now that it's legal, people aren't afraid of admitting it. Once again, prohibition causing dogs to die. So they call up, and it's like, yep, the dog got into the cookies. What do I do? And turns out you can save them. So don't keep it a secret.
If you want your dog to vomit, you give him peroxide. Rue's gotten into chocolate before.
I thought she was able to just tank chocolate.
She does. So, like, I tried to give her, like, they tell you to give him, like, a little spoonful. And so I tried to get her to take it. She wouldn't take it. And then I was just worried that she would throw up or, like, get really sick. No, it was fine. Totally okay. Ate, like, half a tin of chocolate-covered almonds. Totally okay.
What was all the fiber in the almonds?
She was fine. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know what it is with this
Did she
dog.
have some crazy poops after that?
2. But other than that, it was fine.
But I mean, were they like nasty or?
Just kind of runny. They were otherwise fine, though. And she didn't, like, have any accidents. It was just like, all right, I ate some chocolate. The worst thing you can give a dog, but...
Well, a lot of people don't realize we live in Kentucky. We talk about it every once in a while, but this is a weird place, especially for technology. But hey, cost of living is super low. And there's not a lot to be proud about here in Kentucky. We had the one woman who wouldn't do the gay marriages. I think that was probably the most recent thing we were famous for on a federal level.
The Pope had to come see her.
Yeah. So when we see headlines like this, we kind of feel like Alabama.
Student's rainbow shirt and cake lifestyle violation. School expels her after seeing picture. So, WA administration, it's just
Are they not? Oh, there she is.
Yeah, so... It was,
So she's got
Was
this
this actually
rainbow.
here? I could have sworn this was West Virginia.
it was Washington.
What?
Oh.
I saw this on a local news site, but I thought it was like a national story. I guess it is, but I didn't realize it was actually
Yeah, it's
Kentucky.
definitely a national story. Though this is a Washington news channel.
Oh, okay. I was like, I know I saw Washington somewhere.
This
Yeah.
was a defeat the paywall.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I believe now, this doesn't say, but I think this girl does have some sort of, like she is gay or something like that. I don't know that to be true, but I mean, obviously. The thing is, the school says this is not her first offense, and yes, they can expel you. It's in the bylaws because of your sexuality.
But I
No
don't.
way.
I don't think you can infer that from the
From
picture.
Rainbow.
No, right. So the school is saying this
Yeah.
is not the first instance.
Yeah, but I mean,
It's a rainbow cake.
is,
Like,
well,
grow up.
The darker thing is, if they think you're that way, are you no longer allowed to be seen with a rainbow? Which is a far darker thing in the timeline.
Is this a Christian school or is this like a
It's
state funded?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
private
private
school,
school.
and it's called.
They might be able to get away with it if it's private.
No, Whitefield Academy.
I don't remember what that is.
You know what? This is a short episode.
Let's Google it. Let's go down the rabbit hole together, chat.
Oh,
Of course, it's all
a
stories.
lot of
about-
news stories.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
in Louisville.
Spiritual life. Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely a.
I think Whitefield might be. Yeah. So they're definitely working the Jesus angle. So, yeah.
A rainbow seems like such a silly thing to
be upset about.
That's
Yeah.
a direct threat to Jesus, Krista. It's his greatest weakness.
His greatest weakness is rainbows. Is
There's
that like the Green Lantern?
There's actually canonical evidence that rainbows were a good thing in the Bible.
Satan's got a ring. I know he's got a ring on every finger.
Yeah. It's the rainbow.
It's like the infinity gauntlet.
all of a sudden, I was like, oh my gosh, Skittles taste the rainbow? That's actually Satan.
If you just throw Skittles at Jesus, he'll shy away like Dracula from the cross. Starburst. Well, the Pacific Northwest is kind of famous these days for its rampant crime and homelessness. The streets are a rough place to be, and this story certainly points that out.
Portland Bike Thief Task Force officer has his bike stolen. It's discouraging that we've reached this level. So he locked his bike up with handcuffs because he forgot the U-bolt, and when he came outside, his bike had been stolen.
USA.
Handcuff keys are universal, and you can buy them. Pro criminal tip.
Apparently that criminal already did have that pro tip. Yeah.
So,
I wonder if they're universal because at one point they weren't, and then the key got lost, and then someone was stuck in handcuffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So it has to be like that.
Oh, and follow-up story. This is the most important story of the week. If you don't listen to any other part of the news, this is the part to listen to.
And I'm ending on this one because I love these and it's hilarious, but there is a darkness. I'm sorry to say.
Pigeon spotted wearing small sombrero, raising concerns in Reno, Nevada.
There he is. Look how hilarious he is.
Is this the same one from Vegas?
No, because those were cowboy hats.
Oh,
Yeah, this is different.
This is probably the same
They
ad
strike
agency.
again.
Look at that. Looks like they got this one a little farther back on his head.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll interfere less. Now, the darkness that I spoke of before is referencing the cowboy pigeons.
Yeah.
One of them has died.
Oh.
As it turns out, super glue on a pigeon's head. Not so good.
Well, pigeons are kind of rats with wings, but it's still cruel.
It is cruel.
It does make them fabulous for the rest of their short lives.
You'd think they, maybe just put little string, that comes off.
Biodegradable hats.
In the wind, when they were flying, it wouldn't stay on at all.
Sometimes, you
What
make
if they-
sacrifices in the name of fashion.
They could use that glue that is used to glue wounds together that biodegrades.
Oh, yeah, that's probably good.
It's
Yeah.
probably expensive though, right?
Are we going to have a study to get things cleared by the animal cruelty organization to be like, no, this is...
Yeah, I don't think the
if
animal.
I want to
cruelty
glue
people-
a hat on my animal.
I think if it starts out with, I want to use an ethical glue to glue hats to little animals' heads, the answer is always going to be no.
This is a circus pigeon.
He asked me for this.
How is it any different than the circus elephant that has to wear the uniform?
What if they do a study and it turns out that the pigeons with hats are breeding 10 times the normal rate? In fact, that's what killed the cowboy.
Just
It's
prolific breeding.
The exertion of all of the pigeons that wanted to be with him.
Man, was it this week or last week that we had the story about the turtle that was the prolific breeder? There was one turtle that single-handedly saved its own species.
Oh, yeah. I saw a follow-up.
And they had to take precautions against him
Yeah.
just mounting everything.
Yeah. Okay, that's enough of the news for this week. We'll see you next week.